have a right to your children's education. You do not have a right to anybody else's property. You only have a right to your property. If you worked for it, you built it, you acquired it, you know, this is mine. I worked for it. It is not yours. And that's where rights draw the line from property. Anytime you have a question about rights, ask yourself who owns the property. Does anybody have any questions on property, rights, or privileges?
So when are you going to have your allodial title class? How close are you to having that thing ready?
Not very close. I'm doing research. I do have books that tell me how to do that. And I have several people who want that particular class.
Yes, and we are one of those people when we get there.
Okay.
Well, if we can't own the land, do we have to pay taxes on the buildings that we put up on it? Or just the land?
Now, you own the buildings.
Right.
Once you have paid for the buildings, you've paid for the buildings, and that's, you know, you get the title to the buildings. But you don't own the land, which is why they are able to continually collect taxes from you.
Yeah, but they tax the buildings on the land.
Only until it's paid off. Once you've paid it off. My parents own their own home, and the bank note is gone. That brick house belongs to my parents. Now they can dig it up and, you know, take it with them. That's fine, but they do not own the land that house sits on.
Unless you put up a shed.
Whose land are you putting the shed on? It's not your land. Unless you can show me the allodial title to the land, it's not your land.
So they're charging me for that building I'm putting on that land?
They're charging you rent for putting that building on their land.
And they base the amount of rent by the quality of the building on it.
Well, they can base that rent on anything they want. It's their land. You know, they don't have to have a good reason. They say, well, you know, you got white hair, so, you know, this week people who have white hair pay a 10% increase.
They just make the reasons look good.
You know, they just, you know, they invent reasons that sound plausible and we go along with it. But you do not own, if you're paying property taxes, you do not own the land. This is another fallacy that we've had. We've taken that for granted for so long that we don't even question it anymore.
Let me give you paying taxes because I don't know any better?
Yeah.
If I know better, I don't have to pay taxes?
Basically, that's true.
Will they explain it to me then, that it's because I don't know?
No, the government is not doing anything for your benefit. So they are not going to help you at all. In fact, they are going to make your life as miserable as possible. And they are very good at that. So you have to know it, and you have to assert your rights. The Bill of Rights says that you have freedom of speech and freedom of religion. If you stand up and start talking and I say, sit down and shut up, and you do you have freedom of speech? So, well, gosh, it's written right over here. So what? The Bill of Rights did not give you your freedom of speech. And it's not freedom of speech if it's only the stuff that I agree with. If you and I agree, well, then you don't need freedom of speech because we're cheering for the same baseball team. It's when you get up and say something that I don't particularly like and I try to shut you up that you go, no, I'm not going to sit down. I am going to stand here and I am going to say what I think. I have freedom of speech and I'm willing to fight for it. Thomas Jefferson said that you only have the rights that you are willing to fight and die for. So you have to know your rights and you have to assert them. And again, once we get to the Bill of Rights, I'll give you a little anecdote that shows that. As far as allodial title, let me give you a little bit better example because it's easier to understand. When you purchase a car, how many people purchase a car paying cash? That's good. If you can pay cash for a car, that's great. Did you also get the manufacturer's statement of origin? Well, then you basically wasted some of your money. Every automobile that comes off the assembly line has a piece of paper associated with it, a birth certificate for that particular car. And it is called a manufacturer's statement of origin, or MSO. Now, most of us who are mere mortals, we go in and we buy a car with a bank loan. Now, the bank pays the money and we get a payment coupon book from the bank. Now, that MSO generally is transferred to the state. The state will microfiche it and then put it through the shredder. So the MSO no longer physically exists, it's just on film. Now you spend 3, 4, or 5 years paying off the car. Most of us, eventually get that far. And now it's your car, right? What does the bank send you? They send you a certificate of title. If I give you a gift certificate, do you have the gift or do you have a piece of paper that represents that gift? You just have the piece of paper. You have to go someplace and turn in the gift certificate in order to get your gift. Well, if I give you a certificate of title, do you have the title or a piece of paper that represents that title? You have a piece of paper. You are co-owner of that car. Who else is the owner? The state. Now, let's pretend you and I are friends. We go out Saturday and we buy a car together. You put down $10,000, I put down $10,000, and we buy this car. And well, you go ahead and drive it first. You take the keys. So now you take the keys, you drive it, put gas in it, change the oil, and you've got it all year. I never got a chance to drive the car. Don't you think you should pay me money for my half of the car? Don't you think you should pay rent for driving around my 2 wheels? Yeah. So does the state. The state is co-owner of your car. They're going to let you drive it. They're going to let you put the oil in it and, leave the trunk cluttered with all of your stuff. But they are co-owner and they want rent. It's called registration. That's why you have to pay a registration fee every year, because you are paying the state, rent on their part of the ownership of your car. Now, if you go into a car dealer with $20,000 in cash and say, I will buy that car and I want the manufacturer's statement of origin, I have no idea what their reaction is going to be. They're probably going to stutter a lot. But I know people who have actually gotten the manufacturer's statement of origin. It is now their car. They own it in a allodial title, 100%. They do not register it. They do not pay taxes on it. Nothing. It's theirs. Somebody have a question?
The only way you'll get that in the state of Texas is you'll have to sign a statement stating that you first of all have to have an out-of-state address or out-of-country address, and you have to sign a statement stating that you're exporting the car out of the state. Otherwise, a dealer, I don't care how much cash you give him, he's required by his laws of being a dealer, actually his agreement for being a dealer in the state of Texas, which is another whole issue, not to give you that. So the easiest way to do it is if you live in Texas, is go to Arkansas or go somewhere else and buy it, like Jim Farmer did. He has the certificate on his car.
Then bring it back to Texas?
Bring it back to Texas and you don't have to put nothing on it.
Wow, let me get it here.
So when we talk about property,